The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
And here I was having fun with my introduction, and now apparently I can't even do it. Well, fine, be that way. All right, Lex Luthor, hush.
Oh, that's gonna be your thing tonight? I'm the Lex
Yes, it
Luthor to
is.
your Superman.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
you're Roman Reigns.
That
Didn't you
bastard.
Didn't you use that one already?
It's midnight here on the East Coast. I don't know if people are expecting me to be creative.
You had hours to think of one.
And you said you were gonna come up with a creative one, a la the.
I shouldn't have wasted Globo Gym on
Exactly.
NXT. Don't nobody listen to that.
You wasted your best one on the show that probably the least amount of people listen to.
Maybe I should tell everybody who we are, though.
Yes.
And what this is exactly. This is the Smackdown Live crew, that's us three, I guess, covering WWE Backlash 2018. We can't call it Wrestling to the Max presents WWE Backlash because apparently Gary and Sean will be along with a review of their own at some point.
So
Whether or not-
basically, if you like us better than them, listen to this one.
Well, if
Yes.
they like us, they're already listening to this one, so I
True.
think we already have their listen.
True.
Well, but if you're listening to this one first, don't listen to the other one.
Yes. They suck.
Ratings! Brandon, is that how the war was won? Dun dun dun.
Cheap plug
A little bit.
for the show that will never start.
It will. I just have to get there. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Smackdown Live crew presents WWE Backlash 2018. I am your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me at this time, returning from her hiatus, the co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Liz Puglisi,
Hello.
and the Marty Jannetty to my Shawn Michaels, Brandon Biskobing.
Damn it. Wait. But that would make me the face then.
Yes, but I'm the bigger star, so it works.
True.
I don't care.
Good point.
I'm a heel out for this one. Anywho, this is your 2018 Backlash coverage. We're going to try not to go too long, so we've already wasted enough time with shenanigans and formalities. What do you say we get into the show?
Let's do it.
All right, not going to waste my time with the talkie segments and stuff from the pre-show. We're solely going to discuss the pre-show match itself. That pre-show match is Bayley taking on Ruby Riott. Ruby picks up the pinfall victory with the Riott kick at 10 minutes and 10 seconds after a distraction by Liv Morgan.
You're not even going to do our normal shtick?
Not for the pre-show. It doesn't deserve
Okay.
it. Liz, buy or sell that Ruby's the next contender to the Raw Women's title.
Aren't they both heels? I don't know.
Naya's a babyface.
Not quite.
Nice.
I'm thinking she's still on SmackDown. Forgive me, people. I forgot. Nia is a babyface. Whatever. I mean, it was a decent little match. I'm actually glad Bayley lost. I think it goes with whatever the heck they're trying, to do with her. And Ruby definitely needed a win.
Brandon, we saw Ruby pick up a win over Sasha on Raw. She now has a win over Bayley. Same question. Buy or sell that she's Nia's next challenger.
How many weeks do we have before Money in the Bank?
6.
Oh, you
6? I'm gonna give this a soft sell because I have a feeling that they're gonna now, after Ruby has beaten both of them, and now they both, supposedly can have a common enemy that they can go against, but they won't. That this is going to accelerate the Sasha versus Bayley feud, and in typical WWE fashion, because for whatever reason they don't like having very strong feuds on pay-per-views, they're going to have this finish on a Raw, and then whoever wins it and is the heel, I'm assuming it'll be Sasha, will become number one contender in some convoluted way.
I hope not.
You heard it here first.
I think Ruby's the obvious number one contender to the women's title on Raw now, and I think they're going to continue slow burning the Bayley and Sasha stuff, especially since they have a women's Money in the Bank ladder match to build to.
That is a good point. So yeah, I mean, I could totally see her being the new number one contender, and if she does, I'm perfectly fine with it. But at the same time, I could also see them going other routes with it.
Okay, so while Brandon picks a side of the fence to land on, go ahead and move into the main part of the show here. We open the show with the hype package for the pay-per-view at hand. Traditionally well-done WWE hype packages. They usually do a pretty good job with these pay-per-views opens. And then we go to the first contest on the evening on pay-per-view, scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
As it is the Intercontinental Championship of Seth Rollins being defended against The Miz. A back-and-forth match that goes just a shade over 20 minutes. And it sees Seth Rollins retain the IC title, hitting Miz with the curb stomp. Liz, one of the hotter pay-per-view opens of the year here. But I think with Miz being on Raw with Miz being on SmackDown and Rollins being on Raw, and the U.S. title match being SmackDown, there was no doubt in your mind that Rollins was winning here, right?
No, absolutely. We knew that they would, keep it on Raw. It only made sense. Because, like you said, it was, Hardy versus Randy, which, we'll get to later. So that's obviously staying on SmackDown. But what a match.
Brandon, do you think this was the best pay-per-view opener of the year for the WWE?
Oh, definitely. And this was the best match on this card tonight. And
you are jumping the shark, sir.
Just saying.
Excuse me.
I mean, this is the match we're talking about, so I'm just going to say it outright that this was the best match of the night. But it's kind of funny, with what you mentioned about how, they obviously Raw has to have a mid-card title. It was in terms of looking at it purely on paper and purely in terms of storyline and everything, this was a foregone conclusion that Seth was going to win. But even with that being said, they still put on a very captivating match that honestly had you on the edge of your seat.
I will agree with that, but at the same time, I also think it kind of hurt Miz that his finish was kicked out of twice, whereas Rollins only needed one curb stomp to put Miz away.
I'll agree with that, but I think that's just them protecting the curb stomp more right now.
You were saying, Liz?
But they've been doing that, more and more often. You see people hitting their finisher, over and over, and it being, kicked out of. I think it's a problem that, that they're developing. They're making a lot of the finishers look quite weak.
Well, I mean, this is something that, they're taking from the indies. Look at some of the matches in the indies that, you get 4 or 5 finishers and it's still not over.
I would say it originated. I would say it originated during the Attitude Era, but that's neither here nor there.
Very true.
Our next contest, scheduled for one fall, is the Raw Women's Title match as champion Nia Jax defends against Alexa Bliss. And in case I didn't give it away on the pre-show, Nia Jax retains her women's title here, pinning Alexa Bliss at 10 minutes and 17 seconds with a Samoan drop. Right on par with their match from WrestleMania, but not really anything to write home about either.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts on the end of the matches. I'm more interested to see what they do next with Bliss than I care about Nia's championship run. I like Nia, don't get me wrong, but I'm not invested in the whole storyline. I know I tend to rag on the women's division, sometimes, or a lot, but this whole storyline did nothing, for me. Nia started out as a bully, and now she's complaining and she's being bullied. It didn't work for me. And the match was, fairly average, and I think most of that blame falls on Nia.
Brandon?
I mean, this match, like you said, in terms of match quality, it wasn't anything super special. It was about on par with their WrestleMania match. But in terms of the finish and everything, I'm happily surprised because going into this, while I was thinking that they probably will keep it on Nia, at the same time I was thinking, oh, this could easily be Zack Ryder 2.0, where they do a thing at Mania just to get that, that feel good pop and that storyline win, and then immediately just reverse it, like at the next pay-per-view, or in his case, the next Raw. So I'm happy that did not happen.
Post-match, Nia Jax cuts a promo and no one cares.
That was awful.
Oh, wait, are we actually supposed to talk about this promo? Because that may have been one of the biggest loads of horse shit I have ever listened to on a WWE pay-per-view.
No, it was awful,
It's okay to be different. I'm different, and look at where I am. No, you're where you are because of who your cousin is.
It was bad acting. It was all sort of monotone. I said it in chat that, as a plus-size woman, I know I'm supposed to be, like, on her side and be like, yeah, you're all right. I couldn't care less. It all falls, flat. I mean, I know it's a storyline, but it's a bad storyline and it's badly acted.
I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not the greatest, but it's doing what they set out to do, so it's working.
I guess Brandon is the only one here who shows tolerance and respect. Be a star, Brandon. Anywho, moving on. Samoa Joe promo backstage where he runs down Roman Reigns and says that tonight he turns the big dog into a puppy.
That was a great line.
Joe, I feel so bad for you because you're walking into the lion's den here and you don't even realize it.
Well, it didn't help how that match started, but we'll talk about that later.
Hey, cart before the horse, homie. That's twice. I won't warn you again. Our next contest, scheduled for one fall, is the U.S. title match as champion Jeff Hardy defends against Randy Orton. Liz, much slower pace than I expected for this contest, which sees Jeff retain with the Swanton in 11 minutes and 50 seconds here. Were you surprised that this match was wrestled at the pace that it was wrestled at, or is this kind of what you expected?
I think I would have expected more if it was Hardy versus somebody else. But Hardy versus Orton, no, not really. I think it got exactly what one would expect with the match with him in it. Jeff has shown in his matches since he's been back that he can go at a quicker and higher pace. So I think it was a bit toned down. It was just another, average match. It wasn't anything that you wouldn't see on Smackdown or Raw for that matter.
Brandon, your thoughts on the U.S. title match?
Yeah, I mean, especially with who it was against, with it being Orton, it's kind of what you expected. Like Liz said, if it was against someone else who had a higher pace, then yeah, it would be surprising that it was this slow. But in this case, you kind of expected it. And I'm glad that Hardy retained, and maybe he can move on to another feud with someone else, maybe one of the younger guys that he can kind of give a rub to.
I know who I'd like his next feud to be. As a matter of fact, he's involved in the next segment.
Okay, then.
All right. Speaking of said segment, it is time for Elias to give a concert that wasn't announced. Elias starts to dedicate his performance to Bruce Springsteen, and before he can start, the New Day interrupt him. before the New Day can really get anywhere, and Elias is about to perform again, Aiden English interrupts this time. Liz, out of curiosity, what day is today?
It's Rusev Day.
That's what I hear.
It's the only day worth celebrating.
Rusev rather hilariously calls Elias a bootleg Bob Dylan, which I'll admit popped me, despite the fact that I like Elias. Elias then goes to perform a fourth time and is interrupted this time by No Way Jose with his conga line, including the girl in the red dress because America. Okay, maybe not America. Maybe Puerto Rico, maybe Mexico. I'm not entirely sure. Just wherever she's from, that country.
Anyway.
And also dancing out with No Way Jose and his conga line are the Fashion Police and Titus Worldwide, because this segment wasn't enough of a joke to begin with. Again, Elias starts to perform, and then is interrupted by Bobby Roode's glorious theme song, and when the music stops playing, Bobby's in the ring, and it is a glorious DDT to lay out Elias in order to get revenge for Bobby for the last 2 weeks over on Monday Night Raw, where Elias has pinned Bobby Roode and or had the match stopped based on what happened this past Monday. All right, Liz, what did you think?
It was all sorts of ridiculous. And like I say also, I know I sound like such a cranky person, but really I'm not. I generally dislike some of the segments where they have everybody go out just to have everybody go out. It was fairly entertaining. My favorite part was the end when they were all doing Bobby's glorious entrance there. I got a kick out of that. And it did, Elias, pulled it off really well. So it was entertaining. It was more entertaining than these segments usually are.
Brandon, before I ask you about the segment, we both watched the post show. I'm not sure if Liz did or not. Liz, did you watch the post show?
I did.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate was Elias' song about New Jersey?
I'll give it a 6. Some of the things he said was somewhat accurate. I don't remember exactly all of the different things he said about Jersey, but
to having a horrendous smell, he understands why the Devils play there because the place is a living hell.
It can be at times. It can be. And certain parts of Jersey can have a horrendous smell, like Jersey City or Newark, which is ironically where they were tonight.
Liz, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate was Elias?
I think if it's accurate about New Jersey, but you could say that about anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every place has its good and bad, good and bad parts, and every place has. Jersey isn't the only place that. It's not like the whole state is covered in like this dark pig pen from the Peanuts type cloud, It was funny because for the stereotypes, but
oh yes,
I don't think it was that accurate. There's a lot of really beautiful parts of New Jersey that don't get spoken about.
Oh yes.
See, now I'm picturing a map of the United States with Pigpen's cloud over the state of New Jersey.
That's pretty much what most people think already. So
it is.
That's a hilarious visual.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, what did you think of the Elias segment?
I get why some people don't like it, and I get that it's kind of ridiculous that you're just gonna toss everyone, into a segment just to get them out there for the night. But I liked it. It was funny, especially with after New Day came out first, and you're like, oh, cool, New Day. I just a little personal plug or whatnot. I'm very curious to know if that bass drum that he got was just something that they picked up from the back at Prudential Center. That might have been one of our pep band, the Seton Hall pep band's drums. But yeah, I liked it. And then after Aiden came out, and it was like, okay, who else is gonna come out after Aiden? And then No Way Jose came out, and it was hilarious. One thing, I don't know if you guys, if anyone even noticed or anything, but was Bobby part of the conga line, or did he just jump out of nowhere?
I feel like he was hidden in the conga line.
Yeah. So
I
that's
feel like
kind of funny.
I kind of thought about that myself, and I was curious, but I couldn't really tell, and
Yeah.
I didn't exactly take the time to rewind and watch either. You would think that they would have shown a replay of where Bobby came from because it's the only thing this segment accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But no such luck.
Unfortunately. But yeah, and then Bobby dancing with the conga line was great, you know. And, I mean, it was just one of those fun little segments that I enjoyed.
I can go the rest of my life without ever having to see Bobby Roode twerk again. Thank you.
Oh, that was
Oh God,
hilarious.
no! We should get that a lot.
Yes.
That was fabulous.
The ladies' perspective, courtesy of Liz Puglisi. All right, moving on. Our next contest, scheduled for one fall, sees Daniel Bryan tap out a gigantic biatch at 7 minutes. Oh, wait, his name's Big Cass. At 7 minutes and 45 seconds. All right, couple of things to discuss about this match here. We'll talk about the match itself in a second here. First of all, to the fine people of Newark, New Jersey, and those of you at the Prudential Center, every single one of you schmucks that chanted, "We want Enzo," your wrestling fan card should be revoked. I want you to have nothing to do with my sport. Chanting "We want Enzo" is like chanting "We have AIDS."
In spite of what he may or may not have done, this should show WWE that what I said from the beginning after Enzo was released is true.
I disagree, and here's why. Because Cass has been able to more than stand on his own the last 2 weeks on SmackDown.
Really? Yes, he's gotten better, but whenever I think of Big Cass, I still automatically think Enzo.
Well, there's a reason they re-trademarked his original NXT name, and I have a feeling that he's going to be using it sooner rather than later, especially after this.
Yes.
Liz, I know you mentioned that you didn't particularly care about this match here. What were your thoughts on the contest itself?
I mean, the match wasn't horrible. It wasn't the worst match I've ever seen. It wasn't, the greatest. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Bryan's. I'm not a big fan of Cass's. So the match was, it was a decent match to a storyline that's just, the big guy is gonna go after the little guy. It's something we've seen 1,000 times before, and it's so far nowhere near the best telling of it.
All right, now that we've addressed the elephant in the room, Brandon, what were your thoughts on the match itself?
I mean, I personally liked the match. I mean, honestly, especially with how you guys were talking in the chat and everything, I'm happily surprised that Vince did not go full Vince here with the final. The way they ended this match, and I'm sure we'll talk about the post-match stuff after we're done here, but the way they handled this is probably the best way they could handle it, where Daniel gets the win. He shows that, skill supersedes size, which, it's a shocker in the WWE world, in the Vince McMahon world, that this is actually holding true right now. But it still keeps Cass strong. Honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't draw this out more, though, because especially knowing Vince, and especially with how Daniel has been used in the past, and the way Daniel is perceived by the fans, I'm surprised that they didn't use this as kind of a way to, kind of poke the bear a little bit of the fans and be like, hey, yeah, we're going to pull your worst fear. Oh, never mind. We're going to give you what should happen.
I kind of got the impression that Big Cass came off as kind of Diesel light in this match, and I don't know if I mean that as a compliment or an insult.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. I'd compare him, I would say he's a mix of Diesel and Test.
As I was saying... The reason I say that is because it's a mix of the two, the best part of Kevin Nash and the worst part of Kevin Nash. The best part of Kevin Nash is the fact that he was able to be relatively athletic for a guy his size. The worst part of Kevin Nash is because he has such a limited move set at this point in his career that I'm not even sure that a guy like a Daniel Bryan can carry him to a good match. He can carry him to a serviceable match, but he can't carry him to a good match here because Cass does not have the move set, the repertoire, or the in-ring personality to the point that the fans are going to be invested in a big Cass beatdown on Daniel Bryan yet.
That's true.
Liz, is there anything that could change your mind on Cass? Do you think there's anything that they can do with Cass that would actually make you want to give him a chance?
There's been a few. Sorry, I had to mute just for a second. There have been a lot of people that initially I haven't, liked, or there have been people I've liked and then been like, whatever. So yeah, I mean, there's a chance that one day I will like him. I don't just completely write, somebody off. Just right now, I don't find him, entertaining. I don't think, for me, he has. I mean, maybe he has like some part of the look that they tend to like or whatever. But his matches are nothing, special. His mic skills are nothing, special. And so, I mean, for me, he just doesn't have either one of those things. Sure, he might get better. And, maybe my opinion will change. I don't ever just write somebody off, completely. I hated the Shield. I hated all three members of them. Completely hated them. And they grew on me, so. And then there have been people I loved, and for whatever reason, I can't stand the sight of them. So it's only natural. I'm not the only person in the world who has had that happen.
If it makes you feel any better, I still hate one of the members of the Shield.
Well,
I think we all know who that is.
A lot of that.
That Dean Ambrose is just an absolutely horrible person.
I'm sure that's not who you're talking about.
Our next contest, scheduled for one fall. See SmackDown Women's Champion Carmella defend against Charlotte. I feel like they had to give Carmella the win here in order to kind of legitimize Carmella's reign, and that's why I picked her in the predictions that we did over on when we did our review on Tuesday night. I end up being correct as Charlotte goes for the moonsault. Carmella gets out of the way. Charlotte tweaks her knee on the landing and then gets super kicked in the back of the leg by Carmella, and then stack cradled for the pinfall at 10 minutes and 12 seconds. Liz, your thoughts?
It wasn't a bad match. There was far too much screaming on the part of Carmella, but it was.
That's what she does.
Glad. I know it's annoying. I don't like when any of them do it.
Okay, speaking as a guy, I like when women scream. Never mind.
Whatever. From the man's perspective, it was all right. It wasn't a bad match. I know a lot of people expected it to suck, but it was. I actually liked this women's match better than the other one.
Brandon, same question. What were your thoughts here?
It was a decent match. Carmella just comes off as very annoying, both in the ring and out of the ring. So it's like, this match, like you guys said, I figured that Carmella probably would retain just to not have the cash-in become, completely worthless. But, I just don't know how long she can keep this up.
I think the annoying thing is on purpose. I think it's part of the personality.
Well, I know this. Of course it's on purpose.
If I could finish a sentence, please. I think the annoying thing is on purpose because it's part of the persona, and they're trying to get it to turn a portion of the fan base against her. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who are probably similar to Carmella in that regard, in that she actually really wasn't as booed as maybe people thought she was going to be in this contest. She has a pretty decent little cult following.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, anything?
No, I agree. Actually, She does have a cult following. I think her, her character, her wrestling persona is a lot different than I think the actual person, which you can say, for most of them. I think she's really starting to develop, on her own.
I think.
See what happens.
Go ahead, Burton.
I think that's just something that WWE. I know it's gonna take them a while. I know Vince probably will never accept this, but I think that's just something that at some point WWE is just gonna have to accept that no matter what you do, even the most dickish heel or the most lovable face, with maybe one or two exceptions. No matter what you do, there will always be a certain portion of the fan base that will either still like them no matter how much of a heel they are, or still boo them no matter how much of a face they are. So that's just something where it's like, create the persona, create the character, but realize that it may not work for everyone.
And I'm going to agree with that to an extent, because I do believe that we have a lot of those smart contrarian fans that are there for that exact reason.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to the kind of fans that used to populate the ECW shows on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at probably the biggest heel in NXT right now, and he was still getting pops.
Go ahead, Liz.
I mean, I think we've moved past that. Oh, we need to cheer the heels.
Yes, we do. Cheer the heels.
I think we've moved past that as wrestling fans, where, we cheer the good guys, we boo the heels. I mean, for lack of a better term, fans, are smarter. We're not, kids anymore. If we don't like somebody, we don't like them. We're not going to cheer them, regardless of what side of the fence that they're on. I mean, even in the movies now, they always make the villains with this tragic backstory that makes them the way they are. They even did it with, spoiler alert, Thanos in the new Avengers movie, and that's all I'll say. It's so it's just the way a lot of the media is now. The villains always have some heartfelt reason that makes people feel sorry for them. So it's really and they root for them. People love Loki, right? It's no different. You're going to cheer for the bad guys. I don't think it's, oh, the WWE is set in this way, they want you to do this or that. It's just the way people are these days.
Mm-hmm.
I personally prefer cheering for the bad girls. Maybe that's why I like Alexis.
Oh my God! You complain about me talking about Bobby twerking, but you keep going on with this.
I'm evening it out a little bit. That's all. We can't have your pro Bobby twerking bias on this show, Liz. We can't have it.
Please, there's more of your nonsense than mine. Anyway, moving on.
Tongue planted firmly in cheek for this conversation. Next.
No, wait. No, before we get to the next thing, I went and looked. Bobby was not part of the No Way Jose thing.
Oh, he wasn't?
He didn't come out. No, I looked. There was not even. He wasn't even not in his robe and got it from somewhere else and put it on. He wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Because the thing was all around the ring, and then the cameras went up and you couldn't really see the ring, and then he showed up.
Maybe he sprinted down during the darkness for the glorious.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Or he was under the ring, whatever. I don't know.
I mean,
but he wasn't part of the dancing crew.
They do have a tendency to put people under the ring. Our next contest, scheduled for one fall, is a no disqualification but not no countout match for the WWE Championship, as AJ Styles defends against Shinsuke Nakamura. And if that obvious cue didn't tell you what the finish was, it was a double countout.
Well, not in that sense. Double last man standing countout.
It's actually neither one answers the 10 count at 21 minutes. Okay, speaking as a guy who's been hitting the balls before, it sucks. That does not excuse it to be a finish on a pay-per-view in 2018. And you could clear as day hear that the crowd, who had been by and large more or less into the show up until this point, turned violently on this finish. Liz, what were your thoughts?
It was a decent match between the two. I don't think it was the best match we could have seen between the two, but it was an enjoyable match up until that point. The ending was so ridiculous and so juvenile and such like potty humor that the two guys deserve better.
Brandon?
Well, let me first say, before I talk about the match itself, and I know you guys, I think it was mostly Sean that lambasted me for this, saying, oh, Raw's the A show, and yada yada yada. Yeah, so what? The WWE World title is the only major title that is active right now, and it is the top title. Even under old standards, you would still think that the the WWE World Heavyweight, which has the lineage and everything, would be ranked higher. I know WWE has flawed logic, but you would think that would be ranked higher than the Universal title in terms of prestige and whatnot. How is it not even the co-main event? It is the third to last match on a card that doesn't even have the Universal title on it.
First of all,
I don't get it.
The reason this match wasn't the main event is because neither of their names is Roman Reigns. Let's call it what it is.
I understand this entirely.
The reason...
Sorry, it's not the first time it's happened. No, I don't mean to cut you off, Harry. I don't hate that, and I don't mean to do it. It's not the first time a title match has been in the middle of the card. I don't understand why everybody is having a nervous breakdown about it because Roman was in the main event.
That's part of it, but the bigger issue is that the times that it's been lower down on the card has been when there have been lesser people either holding or challenging for the title. So the story and the participants weren't as big.
Yeah, I think that's, upon the expression, I think that's BS reasoning. People are pissed off that it was third to last or whatever the heck the number was because Roman was in the main event. We'll get to the main event later. Whatever. It's stupid. It's not just because the people who held the title were crappy. These matches and even some of the other title matches haven't always been the main event. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. This is fans like to overreact. No offense, guys, over everything, and this is one of the instances, in my opinion.
I'm okay with this match not being the main event. And the reason I'm okay with it is because if you'd have done this finish in the main event, you would have had a much larger backlash than you would have had doing this spot in the card.
That is a good point. That probably is actually the reason why this wasn't the main event. That I think about it.
To answer your other question as to why this wasn't the sub-main event, is because you always want to put a filter match between any kind of major marquee singles matches.
Yes.
Hence,
I understand that. Yeah, now that I think about it in terms of the finish, I kind of get that. That's actually a good point. But in terms of the finish, and in terms of the match itself wasn't bad. Honestly, I was surprised. I guess they were just trying to save what everyone was expecting for the climax. And for the big finish. But, I was surprised that we didn't get more, at least even hints of low blows prior to the end. First of all, let me just say, I'm sure it was, I'm sure it was not intentional, but AJ Styles, mad respect for getting your head completely bashed in with a chair.
Yeah, that was definitely not intentional.
No.
He threw it at Shinsuke's knee and it
bounced off.
It bounced back and caught AJ on the left side of the face.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. But in terms of the ending, I get why a lot of people are so mad at this finish, but in all honesty, how else were you going to have this end where you can advance it and they can there isn't a definitive winner and they can move on to another match type?
Easy. You know how you advance it without having a definitive winner?
How?
You have Shinsuke go to low blow Styles, Styles low blow Shinsuke for the pin, and then you have Shinsuke come out and bitch about the fact that Styles beat him the same way that he was complaining Shinsuke was winning before. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
All right, our next contest scheduled for one fall
One fall.
is tag team action as Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And you know what? You guys go ahead and go first here because I have a lot to say and not a lot of time to say it, so I'm just going to go last. Liz, what were your thoughts?
I completely missed the match and don't really care because I had no interest in it because the Braun and Bobby Lashley pairing is absolutely ridiculous and just thrown together so that both of these men can be on air because they can't keep Braun off air the way they've been pushing him. And when they make a big thing about Bobby Lashley for some ungodly reason, although he's a very nice guy and very talented, there's absolutely no personality on air, so they need to do something. And they're completely ruining Kevin and Sami.
Hey, Liz. Guess
Yes.
what? Guess what's coming in a very short time?
I'll hang up, Brandon. Don't say it.
They're getting the tag titles.
No.
No, they're not. They're more likely to be feuding by SummerSlam than tag team champions. Oh, you mean Braun and Bobby?
Yes, Braun and Bobby.
God damn it! I hope not.
I see it coming because as we saw tonight with the main event, they're not going away from any. They're not going away from Plan A. In spite of what everyone was thinking after WrestleMania and Greatest Royal Rumble. So, in order to still keep Braun strong and still keep their new acquisition happy and towards the top of the card, this is the only way they can conceivably do it in a way that doesn't diminish either one of them. So, there you go.
The Raw Tag team.
Titles.
No, not the titles. Just the Raw
The
tag
division.
teams are kind of like non-existent at the moment. The legit ones are a joke. Fandango and Breeze and whoever the hell else they have. I can't even think.
Apollo and Titus.
They've got
Yeah, I mean
the only two tag teams right now that at least on paper should be legitimate threats and should be going for the titles right now are both NXT call-ups, and we all know how that goes in the tag division.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't have anybody. It's not like the SmackDown, tag scene where there are quite a few fairly dominant teams where you can see either one of them, being champs. Everybody here, except for the guys that were called up from next, they're kind of thrown together. I mean, even Titus and Apollo, they're a faction, not necessarily a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they tag together, but they also have singles matches like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's just thrown together, haphazard.
The only two teams as of right, or the only three teams as of right now that should be going for the titles and should be used as actual tag teams are the Authors of Pain, the Revival, and KO and Sammy. And that may be a lost cause now because, once again, because of them suddenly going up against more dominant singles guys, there's some dissension there. And now they're, suddenly breaking up again. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm calling it right now. Braun and Bobby, unless something happens where they get some sort of program going with them, or they go into Money in the Bank, or something like that, they're gonna win the tag team titles. Because hell, I mean, think about it. Even just purely, without looking at it, outside of kayfabe at all. Braun already won the tag titles on his own with a little kid. So what makes you, now you give him a legitimate fighter, 2 and 2 equals titles. Simple as that.
Does anybody else have anything to add on this match before I go off on my tirade real quick?
No, I'm dying
Go
to hear
ahead.
this stuff. Go ahead.
I mean, you've basically seen most of it in the group chat, Liz, so I'm just going to put it out there, and I apologize in advance for some of the language that I am about to use because it is verbatim what I said in the group chat, and I don't care enough to change it. Okay, first of all, what the fuck kind of finish is a delayed vertical suplex? Are you kidding me? It is 2018. That move didn't pin people in the 70s. Get over yourself, Bobby, and get a decent finish. Second, so let's look at the finality of the match here. Let's look at how we officially go off the air with Braun Strowman power slamming both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, in addition to Lashley hitting the delayed vertical suplex on Sami Zayn on Kevin Owens for the pinfall. A, Lashley has a stupid finish. B, Sami Zayn looks like a pussy. C, Kevin Owens looks like a bitch. D, Braun Strowman looks like an asshole for attacking people after a match has already ended. How does this help anybody? Even your dog is pissed off about this, Brandon. I'm sorry. I have ranted. I feel better. We have a main event left to go.
Let me just ask one quick question, because I didn't see him back when he was around the first time. Did he have a different finish back when
he did.
Oh,
yes,
he did.
He used Farouk's old Dominator.
Oh, okay.
And he was still as boring personality-wise. No offense, Bobby. I think you're a very talented man in some ways, but...
Yeah, when God was handing out personalities, he was too busy getting extra muscles.
I mean, basically, you know what Bobby Lashley is? He's Brock Lesnar light.
We had a less than PC way to refer to Lashley back when he originally came up. I believe the official wording was Black Lesnar.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, this point I'm going to entirely take the blame for him. If you have any issues at all with the tirade you just heard, hebtheeagle@yahoo.com. Come at me. This match pissed me off on 4 different levels. Speaking of things that piss me off, Roman Reigns is in the main event. It is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
As Roman Reigns takes on Samoa Joe. Hey, Brandon, do you remember when we did the predictions on Tuesday and you said Joe was going to win?
Did I say Joe was going to win?
You did.
Wow.
To be fair, most people thought Joe was going to win because they thought it, whatever.
I thought I said this was going to end in a no contest.
Oh, wait, you might have said no contest.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fans saying, "Oh, they're souring on Roman. He's going to lose. Joe's going to destroy him." Blah 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 blah. Let me just get my thoughts on this match over, since I'm talking, and then the two of you can run away with it, as I know you're gonna. It's not a shock that Roman won. I know it's pissing off a majority of people. I think it's kind of silly. On the flip side, I think if he lost, then he would have to take some time off, and they'd have to completely repackage him, which is exactly what I think that they should have done. But I don't run the company. However, my biggest problem with it was that it was too damn long. It was, long. I mean, Joe dominated the match, and then the freaking idiotic spear, and it's over. They could have done that like 3 minutes into the match and just had Roman look like, which would have been stupid, but had Roman look like a badass. It was a drawn-out match, which makes the ending even worse. Go ahead.
I honestly don't have any real opinions one way or another about the match. I called Roman's victory coming from a mile away because there's no way they were going to have him work week three big shows in a row, having him getting his ass beat by Brock at WrestleMania, losing the controversial decision at the GRR, and then having him lose to Samoa Joe here. It made no sense. The match itself was okay, but God, that crowd could not have cared less.
Well, because... do you want to continue?
Just real quick here,
Okay.
because I think the problem with that, though, is that we all know who the blame for that is going to fall on. And spoiler alert, it's not Roman Reigns, which could screw SmackDown Live out of a potential top-level heel, which that show desperately needs right now.
I don't see how you can blame Joe, though.
Why?
Joe's
Because
not
it's easy to blame
boy.
Roman?
Joe's not Vince's boy.
I get this, but Vince, again, I'm for once I'm actually giving him a little too much credit, but this was just asinine how they built this, because there's one of two ways that you could have done this which would have actually worked. Either A, you have Joe blindside Roman like he did and just beat him down. The match doesn't even start at all, but Roman still, powers his way out of the building, yada, yada, yada. Like, you could even have the stretcher try to come out and he refuses, whatever. Do something like that. Or, while this probably would have worked even worse than this match went, but you could have had, well, the better way to do this, and I know it's not in Joe's, it's not in Joe's character, but just have them actually have the match. And you could have had it end in, you could have had some shenanigans where it's not a clean finish. Or even if you wanted to have Roman win, just have Roman win in a regular match. This is just beyond stupid, because everyone with half a brain, it's just telegraphing of, it's basically giving all of the detractors to Roman exactly the ammo that they've been using for years of LOL Roman wins. And you could see it from a mile away. As soon as Joe started beating him down and everything before the bell rang and everything, and then, Roman finds a way to get up and get into the ring, and ref's like, you want to continue? He's like, yeah. And it's like, as soon as you heard the bell ring, you're like, oh, we all know how this is gonna go. It just blows my mind how, I just don't get it. If you're gonna do this still, then why didn't you just do what you had planned for a year, gotten it over with, and just gave him the title at Mania or at Greatest Royal Rumble? What's the point in this?
I don't understand why everybody, and this is no knock at you, Brandon, everybody assumes, I'm sure there's leaks and there's rumors and this and the other thing. Everybody thinks that they can run the company so much better, and I'm sure that a lot of them can. But Roman gets so much hate for doing his job. A lot of people actually expect him to be like...
Roman, though.
No, yes, it is. It's actually hate on Roman. The man actually gets death threats and all this stupid crap. It's really ridiculous. People go really, really crazy, and he's not the only one. They all get a ton of shit. But people go absolutely crazy because the company should give the fans on some level, what they want. Do I think Roman should have won? No, I think this whole thing has been, like Brandon was saying, drawn out, too long. But way too long, and I would have preferred seeing him get the loss. Like I said before, get the loss, take some time off, and be repackaged, because whatever they have doing now is not connecting with the fans. They don't want to see it, But the fans, come on, they go overboard. It's the same whiny, and this isn't aimed at you guys. It's the same whiny crap because that person, didn't win. Somebody like Joe lost to a guy like, Roman. Yeah, the company keeps doing the same shit, over and over again. But I do think that Vince digs in his heels and be like, yeah, okay, the fans are bitching. Well, I'm just, whatever.
Well, and that's the problem. I think
it is the problem, but I don't think that, these guys should get, as much hate as they do, for doing what they're told.
No.
Real quick here.
Okay.
Brandon,
yeah.
Real quick, because I haven't had a chance to chime in here on what Liz just said. So allow me to say something here real quick.
Yeah.
I have nothing against, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his shoot name because I can't. I have absolutely nothing against Roman Reigns as a person. My gripe is against Roman Reigns, the character, and that Roman Reigns, the character, is a byproduct of WWE creative, not Roman Reigns, the person. Because if you told me that I could have the kind of booking that Roman was getting in the WWE, hell yeah, I'd take the push that he's getting in a heartbeat. And so would every other single person who either follows wrestling, is involved with wrestling, or wishes they were involved with wrestling. So don't consider the majority of the people's hatred to be towards Roman. And yes, there are people who cross that line. I will 100% agree with you about that. And it is absolutely ridiculous. It is a predetermined sport that is meant for entertainment. There is no reason to threaten the dude's life, threaten his kid's life, threaten his family's life. That's bullshit. You people need to be ashamed of yourself. You have no right calling yourself a wrestling fan. However, to what you just said there, with Vince digging in his heels, this is the same company that had its biggest successes when it was giving the fans what they wanted on a weekly basis back in the late 90s, back in the era of the Attitude Era, back in the run of the Chris Kresge run WWF in early to mid 2000. This is the same WWE that draws its biggest critical acclaim from what Triple H is doing with that old school flavor down in NXT. This is not a company that does not know what it's doing creatively. It just seems immune when it comes to the characters of people like a Brock Lesnar, like a John Cena, and like a Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and
but wait, hold on. Let me just say this. But that's what I was saying. There's so much like outrage, about different things. But it is, and whatever the two of you were saying, like, oh no, that's what we meant. You just have to listen to yourselves sometimes because that's how it sounds. I don't think you guys hate, Joe Inoue, whatever the hell his real name is. I can never say his last name. I'm not that stupid. Whatever. I don't think you guys hate the person. I'm talking about, but even those fans, there's many fans. You guys need to go on social media somewhere if you think I'm wrong. There's many, many fans who will, go off at the person, so it's a little bit, and I said specifically that I think it's wrong that they've dug in their heels and been like, yeah, okay, we're going to keep, going on with this.
I personally would rather not deal with those troglodytes.
Yeah, really. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, Liz, but I mean, this is the WWE's fault because.
But that's what I said.
Yeah,
I said that.
But like,
I'm just gonna say this. I love the two of you guys, but if somebody says something that's even remotely not in line with what you guys are saying, I'm getting yelled at my house. You just don't listen to the rest of it. I agreed with everything you're just saying, but I'm saying that it's people getting, the company is wrong, and people getting so, not that the fans should just accept it, but some of it, people need to like really tone it down a bit.
I will admit that I can be prone to sensationalism at times, and it's human nature to be such. But to personally attack somebody, to go after somebody's family, to go after them in a personal aspect is a line that I do not cross.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
And if you are, like I said earlier, if you are a member of the wrestling fan community, and I use that term as loosely as possible in this regard here, that does cross that line, then you really need to reevaluate your life. I agree with you, Liz, that there are a large group of people that take this too seriously. And I will admit I am prone to sensationalism, like I said, at times. But I will never cross that line. Yeah. I will never be somebody who wishes injury on someone. I will never be somebody who wishes any kind of physical harm on someone. Will I get upset over a match result or two? Absolutely. You saw me go off on the tag match right before this year. but I will never be the kind of guy that wishes injury or death or any kind of illness or anything on somebody just because I don't like their character.
No.
And I never insinuated that you or Brandon were.
Right. I know.
Yes. We know.
Just
we're just clarifying.
Clarifying for the listening audience. That is all.
But yeah, I mean, it's not... It's more so just that Roman is basically a conduit now for everything that's wrong in WWE. And they really need to do something, and it's really bad. The issue isn't so much, well, it is Roman winning a lot, but it's just that, like, he's just the conduit where everyone says, oh, this is why WWE is where they're at. And I think the only way they can really fix it for him, just him alone, is by either finally completely turning him heel, or, as Liz said, take him off TV for a year and a half.
Okay, see, I'm going to disagree with taking him off of television because then the man's not making a living to provide for his family. I think
you could still have him do, like, house shows and stuff.
I think
it's not like they stop paying them when they take them off air.
I mean, Neville's still getting paid.
Well, Neville's apparently moving back to England too, which was sad to hear. I'll miss Neville. Anyways, in regards to the show in general, though, because we've been going on for almost an hour now, and I kind of want to keep it around that time. We'll go ahead and bring this to a nice tidy wrap here in a few seconds here. My issues aren't so much with the performance. They never have been. My issues with creative and the fact that we got off to such a hot start on this show. And then throughout the show, it was the creative decisions on the show that caused the crowd to turn against the show and caused the home fan watching as well to kind of sour on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people didn't sour on the show.
Oh, you could hear it. They soured.
But one of my friends sent me a message after the show and said he gave tonight's show a 7. I'm not anywhere near that high, but to each their own. Everybody has their own perspective of what they're watching. With that being said, let's find out what your guys' perspective is. Brandon already answered this question, so I'll ask you, Liz. What was your match of the night?
There was only one decent match, and that was the first one.
Yeah, runaway winner for match of the night is going to be Miz versus Rollins for the IC title. What about your least?
And that tells you something when I'm saying a Miz match is the match of the night.
Your Miz bias aside, he's been awesome for 2 years now. You just need to step in line, sucker. Liz, what was your least favorite match on the show?
Every other one.
That is a cop-out answer that I cannot accept. I need a specific answer.
I'm going to go with AJ and Shin, because as much as people are going to rant and rave that, yes, Roman won again, that ending was absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, speaking as a guy, again, who's been hitting the balls, it's kind of understandable from our perspective.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but it's understandable. Getting hit there will put you down for a 10 count. Peter Rosenberg.
It's still a stupid finish.
Oh, I agree, but Peter Rosenberg kind of sold that point during the post-game show, and I hadn't thought of it that way, but he does raise a valid point.
You didn't like my first answer, so there you go.
No, you're fine. Brandon, what was your least favorite match?
My least favorite, hands down, because just the writing, just everything was terrible, was the main event, the Joe Roman match, because it is in a nutshell what everyone complains about with Roman, of LOL Roman wins. He gets beaten down, and he's still... Even Liz, who, she's the least Roman, and let me, before I even say this, and I've said this on the Raw review and stuff before, I've actually grown to like Roman since last year, since Great Balls of Fire. Because his feud with Braun really was a great feud, and I liked it a lot. And he's gotten a lot better over the last year. But this is just everything that the detractors have been saying in a nutshell. You beat him down, and even Liz said it. Oh, he's going to Hulk up and break out of the Coquina Clutch. And sure enough, he did. That tells you something when you're comparing him to Hulk Hogan.
The problem with that, though, is that that's how they've kind of always been with their super baby face. They get preferential treatment. It was Cena before, it was Austin before that, it's Roman now.
But
to an extent, though, I would argue that Cena and Austin were not as protected as Roman is. And that's what fits so badly with me.
Yeah. I would say, in terms of protection, it definitely goes... Austin was the least protected. Probably Cena early on in his career is second lowest. Then Roman, then Hogan's was the most protected out of anyone, obviously.
Well, Hogan would lose matches, but they would always be by like count out or disqualification. Yeah. You almost never saw. I think they said the stat of during his original run with the company, Hogan had something like 4 televised pinfall losses.
Wow.
All right, this will be the interesting one. Oh, by the way, my least favorite match was the tag match. Go back to my rant earlier. I don't feel the need to repeat it.
Okay.
This will be where the line is crossed. Let's find out what the actual numbers are. Liz, scale of 1 to 10.
5.5.
Brandon, scale of 1 to 10.
I'll give it a 5.5 as well.
I'm slightly higher than you guys at a 6. But if not for Miz and Rollins, it's a 4.
Miz and Rollins was good, while the finish was... They could have done better with the finish. I was okay with Shinsuke and AJ. And Nia Alexa wasn't bad either.
I enjoyed Jeff and Randy for what it was.
Yeah, I liked that match.
A little bit slower paced than I thought it would be, but enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the opening part of the main event, the pre-match stuff of the main event, and then to an extent of the match itself, although I'm not sure how Vince feels about on a PG product hearing a very loud bleep you Roman chant before they finally got the audio hushed. Because there was clear as day a very loud F you Roman chant.
Well, maybe that'll be the kick in the pants that Vince needs.
No,
I doubt it, but... Oh, I know it won't, but... If he's also gung-ho on PG still, he's gonna want to stop that somehow.
Liz, do you have anything to plug before we get out of here?
No.
You know what you should plug? You should plug Tuesday nights because that's the only one you're a part of. Go ahead. You get Tuesday nights.
I'm too annoyed with the two of you to plug anything else that I'm involved with the two of you.
Oh, well, that's not nice. Now I'm upset that I hurt your feelings. Not really.
No, you didn't hurt my feelings. I'm saying the same thing you guys are. And it's like it's being twisted. But whatever.
Don't worry, we'll piss her off more this Tuesday night on the Live and SmackDown reviews.
We won't piss her off as much as we did tonight because we don't have Roman to talk about, though.
Okay, but you know what? This is the thing. Do I like Roman? Yes, right? Character-wise, I'm talking about because I don't know the person. You know, he seems like a great person outside the ring, but what the hell do I know? Do I like the character? Yes. Do I think he should be winning all the time? No. Which I've clearly said multiple times.
I'm not knocking that for you, Liz. My bitch isn't with you, it's with creative.
Yes.
Nothing to do with
I know, but that's what I was saying. But now the show's getting long, and some of us have a life to take care of tomorrow. So let's just end it.
Okay, you go to bed. Bye, Liz. I'm just going to wrap up the show here, so there's really nothing else for us to listen to. All
well,
right.
we can. I have to plug Raw and NXT with whoever I'm reviewing it with tomorrow and Thursday.
You just did. Congratulations.
He's hoping it's not me.
Well, you don't review NXT, so I think you're going to dodge that bullet.
No, she's talking about Raw.
I think 2 weeks I was on Raw.
And you can listen to those in the archives wherever you listen to any of your W2M Network podcasts, be it iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podbean, CastBox. Coming soon to Spotify, I hear. Although I've been saying that for like a month now, so I don't know exactly how soon is soon in that regard. I honestly don't have anything else to plug on the W2M Network because the kickoff's in hiatus and How the World Is Won is still a project that's being worked on. So I guess tomorrow night for me, you can listen to the Raw reaction over on the Chairshot Radio Network at 11:30 p.m. live. For Brandon Biskabing and the co-hostess with the mostest, Liz Puglisi, I'm Harry Broadhurst, thanking you for listening to the Smackdown Live Crew Reviews Backlash 2018 here on the W2M Network, available online at W2Mnet.com. Have a good evening, everybody.